According to the Iranian Students' News Agency, Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, or AEOI, says Russia and Iran have reached an agreement to jointly produce nuclear fuel. AEOI head Ali Akbar Salehi says a preliminary agreement with Russia was reached during the nuclear negotiations between Iran and the major world powers in 2015. A roadmap has been developed for the joint production. It will take 2 years to be implemented. Salehi also announced a Tehran-Astana deal to buy 950 tons of uranium ore from Kazakhstan over 3 years. It's part of Iran's international nuclear deal known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Russian media reported on Saturday that related research and development work has come to a close, and the first test models of the S-500 system will be in production soon. The long-range system, designed by Moscow-based defense firm Almajanti, is said to have a range of 600 kilometers and could simultaneously intercept up to 10 ballistic and hypersonic missiles traveling at a speed of 5 kilometers per second. It is also capable of engaging targets at an altitude of up to 200 kilometers.
Well, Iran's Navy has started major naval drills in the Sea of Oman and the northern parts of the Indian Ocean. Commander of the Iranian military's naval forces, Habibullah Sayari, officially kick-started the drills on board the country's most advanced destroyer. He said the goals of the drills include enhancing Iran's defense capabilities, establishing security in regional waters, combating maritime terrorism, and testing the Navy's latest arms and equipment. He added that the message of the drills is peace and security for the entire region. The 4-day drills, codenamed Velayat 95, will cover a vast area of 2 million square kilometers stretching from the Strait of Hormuz between the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman to the northern parts of the Indian Ocean and the Strait of Mandeb between Yemen and Djibouti. Surface and undersurface vessels of the military strategic Navy force, accompanied with marine helicopters, are planned to conduct operations during the maneuvers.
In response to claims that Israel had crossed the Lebanese border to install spy equipment, several dozen Lebanese protesters gathered at the border last night. Some of the crowd even crossed into Israeli territory just outside of the border fence before being dispersed by IDF troops using tear gas and smoke grenades. The spying allegations against Israel were recently charged by Hezbollah terror leader Hassan Nasrallah, who just last week threatened not to hold back behind any red lines, saying in a conflict with Israel, the targets would include an ammonia tank in Haifa and Israel's nuclear facility in Dimona. Today, close to 3,000 protesters filled the streets of Haifa to demand the closure of the ammonia storage tank in the area. The protest came hours after a court ruling that will allow the facility to continue to operate in the northern coastal city. The Haifa municipality submitted its petition to close the ammonia facility last month, following a city-commissioned report concluding that the facility posed a serious risk to the population. According to the report by Professor Ehud Keinan of the Technion Shulich Faculty of Chemistry, if ruptured, the ammonia storage tank would release a toxic cloud, potentially suffocating 16,000 people. This potential disaster has not gone unnoticed by Israel's enemies either. In fact, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah has threatened to target ammonia facilities with rockets in the event of another armed conflict with Israel. The tank is operated by the Haifa Group, a multinational company specializing in the production of fertilizers.
Now, activity appears to be ongoing at North Korea's nuclear test site. Experts are concerned it could be a sign the North is preparing for a new nuclear test. North Korean monitoring website 38 North says that commercial satellite imagery taken of the Punggye-ri nuclear test site on February 18th shows low-level activity at many locations within the installation. The website says the images show supplies and equipment are being moved in and out of the test tunnels. 38 North says that, should the order be given, North Korea could probably move forward with a nuclear test in short order, but it remains unclear when such a test might take place.
In the aftermath of the assassination of Kim Jong-nam, anti-North Korea sentiment has been spreading in Malaysia. Malaysian ministers have criticized North Korea's comments about the country and are demanding the government re-examine its ties with Pyongyang. Last week, Malaysia's Prime Minister Najib Razak criticized its North Korean ambassador Kang Cheol's claim that Pyongyang cannot trust Malaysia's handling of the probe.
The statement by the ambassador was totally uncalled for. It is considered diplomatically rude on his part.
Following this, Malaysian Foreign Minister hit out at North Korea for being caught in a delusion and continuing to tell lies. On Sunday, Malaysia's Culture Minister said that he does not see any benefits from maintaining relations with North Korea, citing Japan as an example. The country's education and defense ministers have also accused North Korea of crossing the line and damaging the nation's diplomatic ties. As the investigation into the murder of Kim Jong-nam rumbles on, tension has been building up between the two countries to the extent that this could lead to a severance of diplomatic relations.
On Sunday, Malaysia declared its international airport a safe zone after completing a sweep of the terminal where Kim Jong-nam died on February 13th when he was smothered at the airport's budget terminal with VX nerve agent, classified by the United Nations as a weapon of mass destruction. Abdul Samad Mat, the police chief of Selangor State, who is leading the investigation, told reporters at the airport, "We confirm, number one, there is no hazardous material found in KLIA-2. Number two, KLIA-2 is free from any form of contamination of hazardous material. And thirdly, KLIA-2 is declared a safe zone."
Elsewhere, a newly appointed independent reviewer of terrorism laws in the UK has warned the country is facing a terror threat at a level not seen since the 1970s. Speaking to British media for the first time since being appointed to the role, Max Hill said Daesh was planning indiscriminate attacks on civilians regardless of race or color. The new watchdog also expressed concern at the return of hundreds of British terrorists fighting in Syria. The UK was among a number of states that supported the anti-government militancy in Syria since 2011.
Up to 20 people have been injured in a fire at a centre for asylum seekers in Sweden. Most are said to have suffered from smoke inhalation, but 2 were hurt after jumping out of a window. It's not known what caused the fire overnight on Saturday into Sunday. Police are treating it as suspected arson, but that's routine in cases where the cause is still unknown. Sweden saw a sharp increase in asylum applications 2 years ago. It's led to some tension as well as isolated attacks on foreigners.
Switzerland's funding a controversial TV series with African actors aimed at discouraging migrants from coming to Europe. It will be broadcast on Nigerian television.
And action!
Here he discovers that the promises of the traffickers, the paradise, the land where milk and honey flows, do not correspond to reality.
It tells the story of a young man trying to flee to Europe in a bid to solve financial problems, but he's denied asylum by Swiss authorities. And after years as an illegal immigrant is caught by police and deported back home, poor, isolated and unhappy. Meanwhile, Amnesty International says that Switzerland should change the way it tries to deter asylum seekers from coming to Europe. However, it's not entirely surprising that desperate people from war-torn and economically underdeveloped countries are seeking to get to wealthy Europe, particularly after the German Chancellor welcomed all of those in need.
Germany will fulfill its responsibility when it comes to aiding those seeking protection, civil war refugees, asylum seekers. Shutting the borders in the 21st century of the internet era is an illusion. This wouldn't be a reasonable option for Germany, nor for the whole of Europe.
The Swiss initiative is not the first attempt to discourage migrants from coming to Europe. There have been numerous attempts at scare tactics targeting refugees.
Chemin sans retour. C'est une route qui va à l'enfer. On s'est perdu sur la mer et il n'y avait pas d'espoir.
Szerb határon fekvő Ásothalom polgármestere vagyok. Magyarország rossz választás.
A German charity event to help starving African children has come under fire after a woman filed a complaint that the name of the event is offensive. She forced the organizers to delete their Facebook page in order not to spread racism online. Organizers claim, however, their intentions are good.
It started back in 1981 as a charity event aimed at supporting people in Africa. Back then it was known as Youth Dancing for Africa. I think people on Facebook are overreacting. This event has taken place 36 times already. It is well known under the current name, and from a marketing perspective, it would be stupid to change it now.
It's ridiculous. The woman who raised the complaint should have learned more about it first. The event organizers are gathering money for charity.
I don't see anything racist here. The people who are complaining about our event just don't know anything about it.
It's sad to hear such absurd comments, and for an event like this to be receiving negative publicity.
The only purpose of this event is to help people. There's nothing racist here at all, and no hidden agenda, only charity. People have to understand that.
This would not be the first time when political correctness comes to the fore. In January 2015, German food giant Haribo stopped selling black sweets after social media users accused them of being racist. Later the same year, a Swedish firm scrapped selling dark Band-Aids after complaints from customers. And there was outcry in the Netherlands over the Santa Claus helper, known for many, many years right there as Black Pete.
In India, police have arrested 2 suspected Islamic State operatives in the western city of Rajkot. Police say the 2 siblings were planning a lone wolf attack on a religious institution. Police say they found gunpowder and literature on making explosives in their possession. The Islamic State group has struggled to recruit fighters in India, which is home to the world's 3rd largest Muslim population.
The Mexican city of Tijuana lies just 25 kilometers south of San Diego. It's Mexico's 4th largest city and its largest city along the U.S. border. 20% of Mexican exports go through Tijuana on their way to the U.S., and 30% of U.S. tourists travel through the city on their way down south. It's also a stopping ground for many Central American and South American migrants, hoping to make a living in America. But migrant shelters are filling up as the U.S. cracks down on illegal immigration.
There's 34 shelters in Tijuana, and from these shelters, there's around 3,500 Haitians, plus Central American running away from violence from Central America, and also plus the deported migrants who are being deported every day.
Hugo says people living in the shelters are responsible for their organization. Some of the shelters receive government and private funding, while other camps only receive private funds. Many migrants living here make by on around $5 per day. Sarah Lopez is the founder and head of one of Tijuana's shelters. She says every day is a struggle to make ends meet.
2 persons share this single bed. People also sleep in the corridors. It is only for male migrants here. Female migrants live separately.
Shelters in Tijuana are small in scale. The largest camp houses just 300 people. Organizers raise funds for migrants and help them find legal work in the U.S. But as Washington's immigration policy becomes stricter, more and more migrants are finding they have nowhere else to go.
Mexico has threatened to retaliate following Donald Trump's latest comments on his planned border wall. The US president vowed to start building it soon, way ahead of schedule. After Trump addressed rapturous supporters at a conservative conference on Friday, Mexico's foreign minister warned the US not to impose a unilateral tax on Mexican imports to pay for it. Naturally, the Mexican government needs to respond. Our response would probably not be to put a general tax on all imports from the United States, because that would harm the Mexican consumer. We would hurt the daily lives of Mexicans. We would do it selectively. The foreign minister, who along with the president met top figures from Trump's team this week, has reportedly floated the idea of imposing tariffs on imports from Iowa, Texas and Wisconsin. A presidential order requires government agencies to report aid given to Mexico, bringing speculation that Trump wants to redirect assistance to pay for the wall's construction.
Police are responding to a report of vandalism at a Jewish cemetery in Philadelphia. The report comes less than a week after more than 150 headstones were vandalized at a Jewish cemetery in St. Louis.
Headstones have been knocked down all over Mount Carmel Cemetery, dozens, maybe more than 100. Everywhere you look, you spot another one knocked over. It's a Jewish cemetery located at the corner of Frankfurt and Cheltenham Avenue.
It's just very, disheartening that such a thing would take place.
That's Aaron Mallon. He made the disturbing discovery today when he came to visit his father's grave. He says he knows this doesn't look good, but is hoping somehow this wasn't an anti-Semitic attack.
I'm hoping it was maybe just, some drunk kids or doing some type of attack, but just the fact that there are so many, it does lead one to believe that it could have been targeted.
Right now, police haven't told us what exactly happened, but you can see the damage is widespread. A lot of people are going to have to get their loved ones' headstones fixed.
Egyptian Coptic Christians, fearing attacks by Daesh, have fled the northern part of the Sinai Peninsula for a fourth day. More than 100 families left the town of El Arish for Ismailia, city east of the capital Cairo. This comes after a Christian plumber was killed by Daesh on Friday. In the latest series of sectarian attacks, right groups are accusing the government of failing to provide security for the minority group. The number of Egypt's Coptic Christians continue to decrease in northern Sinai Peninsula. Before 2011, Arab Spring in Egypt, over 5,000 Christians lived in the area, but the number is thought to be now fewer than 1,000. Coptic Christians are thought to make up around 10% of the population in Egypt.
There is no life for Christians there. They're thirsty for the blood of any Christian, so there is no way for any Christian to live in El Arish. They were pretty clear when they said we won't leave any Christian in peace. They want an Islamic state.
We left all the apartments. I left 3 apartments, mine, my elder sons, and his brothers. I can tell you that I brought absolutely nothing with me, but thank God we made it out alive.
Yemeni medical staff staged a protest in front of the UN office in the capital Sana'a, calling for an end to Saudi Arabia's blockade. Protesters also called on the UN to provide the Yemeni people with access to medical care. They complain that many children in Yemen die due to the lack of access to medicine. Protesters say that millions of Yemenis are deprived of medicine and humanitarian supplies as Sana'a airport is closed because of the Saudi blockade.
Saudi Arabia's foreign minister has made a rare and unannounced visit to Iraq amid simmering tensions between the two countries. Adel al-Jubeir led a Saudi delegation during talks with his Iraqi counterpart Ibrahim al-Jafari in Baghdad. No official statements have yet been released on the nature of the discussions. According to state media, the Iraqi foreign minister has asked Jubeir to make Saudi Arabia's position clear on Turkey's controversial troop deployments in northern Iraq. Baghdad has in the past accused Riyadh of supporting Daesh terrorists. In 2016, the kingdom was forced to replace its ambassador to Baghdad after angry Iraqi lawmakers accused him of repeatedly interfering in their country's internal affairs.
Dozens of Chinese businesses have been naming their products after Ivanka. That's amid turbulence in the relationship with Washington. RT's Emily Sue looks at what role Ivanka Trump could play in China.
While fashion giants in the U.S. are busy pulling Ivanka Trump's products off their shelves to avoid losing their anti-Trump customers, dozens of companies in China are rushing to cash on the first daughter's name. From wallpaper to alcohol retailers, 65 companies want to use Ivanka as a trademark for their products.
Hashtag Ivanka Trump. Happy shopping.
Chinese Twitter Weibo has an Ivanka the Goddess fan club with 11,000 followers. They think American companies are simply missing the point. And one of the reasons why Chinese people love Ivanka is this. She made a surprise visit to the Chinese embassy for Lunar New Year.
Welcome. How are you, Ambassador? Happy Chinese New Year.
Experts say Ivanka has the potential to become Trump's unofficial ambassador to Beijing.
Ivanka Trump did play a role
of like softening, smoothing out the controversies created by Donald Trump. In terms of the relationship between the U.S. and China, I think she can play that role, to narrow the gap, let's say, of understanding or bring the two countries together.
And let's just say Ivanka already found her diplomatic successor.
This year, one group of people has given a celebration of a new form. They've been using 3D printers to make special maslenitsa pancakes called belini in Russia. Maslenitsa is also known as the Pancake Week. The golden pancakes represent the sun and the coming of spring. People also build and burn scare crowds to pray for good luck in the new year.